because as we transition out of Matthew, we will be moving into this series on moments and thresholds and the consequences of choices. And some choices cannot be repaired. And you have to deal with the consequences of what happens after that. So, we're going to engage in a little bit of what if in this series as we come across these various scenarios. And I'm going to start with 1 Kings chapter 3. And we will finish our bits on Matthew in the next 3 or 4 weeks, since we've gone through exegetically, and that is a wonderful. However, I'm going to do a new series. 1 Kings chapter 3. Then 2 prostitutes, verse 16. 1 Kings 3:16. Then 2 prostitutes came to the king, that is Solomon, and stood before him, or Jedediah as the Lord called him, which means loved of God. Then the one woman said, O my Lord, this woman and I live in the same house, and I gave birth to a child while she was in the house. Then on the 3rd day after I gave birth, this woman also gave birth. And we were alone. There was no one else with us in the house. Only we two were in the house. And this woman's son died in the night because she lay upon him. And she arose at midnight and took my son from beside me while your servant slept, and laid him at her breast, and laid her dead son at my breast. When I rose in the morning to nurse my child, behold, he was dead. But when I looked at him closely in the morning, behold, he was not the child that I had borne. But the other woman said, No, the living child is mine, and the dead child is yours. The first said, No, the dead child is yours, and the living child is mine. Thus, in this fashion, which is what thus means, they spoke to before the king. The king said, the one says, This is my son that is alive, and your son is dead. And the other says, No, but your son is dead, and my son is the living one. And the king said, Bring me a sword. So a sword was brought before the king. The king said, Divide the living child in two, verse 25, and give half to the one and half to the other. 26, the woman whose son was alive said to the king, because her heart yearned for her son, O my lord, give her the living child, and by no means put him to death. But the other said, He shall be neither mine nor yours, divide him. And the king answered and said, Give the living child to the first woman, and by no means put him to death, she is his mother. And all Israel heard of the judgment that the king had rendered. And they stood in awe of the king, because they perceived that the wisdom of God was with him to do justice. Solomon was an exhorter, walking in extreme measure of reality, at least in this situation. He was willing to bring a sword and have a baby cut in two. Now, let me point something out. When you have Solomon, who is ready to kill a child, or at least threaten to kill a child, in the moment they uttered what their points of view were based on the reality of the threat. If Solomon had just followed through and divided the child in two, instead of acting in wisdom and justice, can you put the child back together once you cut it in two?
No.
Can you put some of these words back in your mouth once you've said them? There are some things that you cannot undo once you have begun to do them. There are points and thresholds in Scripture where people engage in behavior that is unchangeable. Once a relationship is gone, it's gone. Once a marriage is consummated, it's consummated. That's it. Once a child is born, you cannot undo the child and put the DNA back into mommy and daddy. The child is now a reality. Once you become somebody's friend, yeah, you can undo it through a bunch of mess, but all things being equal, once you begin a friendship with somebody, something new comes into being. It's not something you can really undo. Once you cut the grass, you cannot uncut the grass. Once you squeeze the toothpaste out of the tube, you cannot put the toothpaste back into the tube. Once you barf verbally all over a situation, if you've engaged with the spirit of strife or the spirit of murder to hurt somebody and you partner with them in the spirit of strife, you cannot roll things back. You can redeem them. You can move forward into something new, whatever the Lord may have at that point. But once you've changed behavior, once you've cheated on your wife, your husband, once you've betrayed trust, things change and other things come into reality at that point. Solomon at that moment weighed his decision, and in that moment, once he got the other part of the story, he made the decision to grab the wisdom and hand the baby to the mother who would rather see the child live with somebody else than die. Pam, do you have any thoughts?
I really like the angle that you went at that, because it's true. People are friends and not friends. That's a fairly common thing. Especially in school and whatever. People wanting to. Good morning. People wanting to interact in that fashion, and she's my best friend today, and she's nothing to me 3 months from now, or whatever. But there is truth there. Once a friendship's been made, it makes an impact. And it does not mean that you will be friends forever. And it doesn't mean anything like that, even if you wanted to be friends forever. But the fact that there's a friendship, there was a connection, and then it was broken, usually leaving wounds and pain, because the break isn't usually, hey, I've enjoyed being your friend for a few weeks, let's take a break. It's normally, it ends because of something bad. But, it is a decision, it was made, and it's made an impact. Now, has it made a life-changing impact? I don't know. There are people that we will interact with that is a life-changing impact. No question. But it is a decision, and it makes an impact. If it ends badly and you're hurting from it, or you have some unforgiveness toward it, that's an opportunity for you to grow and to practice forgiveness and letting the Lord take care of it, rather than holding negativity and spreading. So here's another common thing. We're friends, we shared a few secrets, nothing too much, but we shared some secrets, whatever happened, we're not friends anymore. And then you say, well, I want to hurt this person the way they hurt me, and spread some of their secrets around. Okay, that's a choice that alters lives. That's intentionally causing damage. That could really, really devastate someone, even if it seems to you like it's nothing. I've stepped out and shared some things that seemed like nothing to me, and somebody came up to me later and said that was really, really hurtful to me. And I was just trying to make an example or say something quietly, and didn't even think about how much it would hurt them, and they came back and said, that really, really hurt me. And we were still friends. I just shared something, yeah, so you know what I'm talking about. And so it definitely makes a difference. My point is that it makes a difference. The decisions we make, make a difference. When if you're reading a magazine and you just decide to flip through it, read the article you want and put it away is one thing. But if you actually try to read a magazine like cover to cover, and you come across something that would cause you to stumble or is not a good choice, that's a choice threshold for you. Whichever way you go is going to have an impact. If you choose to dwell in a place where there's just a swamp, you've now allowed more swamp inside of you, which will have an impact. Or if you decide, hey, I don't think this is a good choice, and you stay away from it, then that will have an impact as well, because now you're not polluting yourself. You're making an effort to keep yourself cleaner. You know. So those choices matter. The choices of what you do on the internet matters. Monitored or not, it is well known that there are people who do not follow our guidelines, and there's things that we can control and things we can't. Our guideline choices aren't because we're trying to be mean and cruel. Our guideline choices are because we know that one choice, besides being done in defiance because we've told you not to, that one choice can lead to some very, very tricksy people who put up links that, the page is slow and loading, you're moving on to the next thing, and all of a sudden you've clicked on something and it's a slow loading link that you didn't see, and then all of a sudden you're facing something that's really horrific, really something that's going to lead you in a way wrong direction. And now you've got it in your face. You can never unsee that. And then you have to decide, well, should I check this out a little more or get out? But you can never unsee that. I didn't mean to go there. I understand. These people are very crafty. They weave in links so that you'll hit it accidentally because you go ding, 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 because this is the button I'm used to hitting. And all of a sudden you end up on face to face with something really, really bad. And the problem is it's packaged in something that might feel or look really, really good. Might be really, really good, but it's really, really, really poison.
How would you like the Lord to broadcast to all creation everything you ever did on a laptop? And so everybody knew all that about you.
Yeah.
Including all the legalistic people who are full of a religious spirit. How would you like that?
Wouldn't like it. Wouldn't like it.
Isaac, thoughts?
Wouldn't like it.
Same here. You could probably say the same thing.
I'm a little less hesitant, but yeah.
Yeah. You get the point, though.
Yeah.
And she's had issues with certain vices or whatever the case.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Take that one area that you've got. How would you like everybody to know all of that? Now, let's turn that thing on its head. If you have a loving father who is willing to work with you on through any situation, regardless, but also lets you know that there are consequences coming that he can't stop. It's kind of a relief, isn't it?
Yeah.
He knows the worst about you. He discerns the worst about you. He hears the worst about you. And yet he is still willing to work with you.
Mm-hmm. It's true. He knows every fear, every doubt, every concern. Every time you question, God, you exist. Are you for me? Is this what I need? I mean, people question their faith all the time, and they usually just stay real quiet about it because they feel really awful. Well, you know what? God can handle it.
Mm-hmm.
He can handle it. He's not mad at you because you're not sure. There's so much out there. He loves you. Go ahead.
If the Lord tells me that one of y'all want to get a piercing, wherever, doesn't matter, do you think the Lord is going to talk to me about other things as well?
No.
Everything that is done in secret will be brought to the light. We do partner with him to raise the three of you, and that is not meant to be a. It is not meant to be a guilt. It's meant to be an understanding of reality, and if you can adopt it, a comfort, which means you can talk to us without us shocking us, because we are. Chances are high we already know. Believe me, I know the worst that can be done. So, and she's got some idea as well. So, thinking that we don't discover it, or we're going to look at you weird if you tell us this, that, or the other. I've seen conversations where kids and teenagers have said, "Oh, my dad doesn't know this about me, so he thinks I'm this kind of a person." And if the Lord speaks to us, odds are high that we do know. We're just choosing to cover your nakedness. Believe me, we are under no, for the most part, delusion that you kids have flaws. Just as we are under extreme understanding that we also have flaws. And yet, we're still here providing you a home. So, as a community, how are you going to take advantage of that? So, you have a series of decisions as you are making your way through life. And as you make those decisions, it's going to set other things into motion. And my encouragement to you is make good decisions, make wise choices. Occasionally slow your roll. And in the process, at sometimes, have fun. There is a place for having fun and enjoying yourself in the kingdom while you're building. I imagine there are nights when Jesus got done with the day of ministry and he and the 12 decided that they were going to go and hang out at somebody's house and, have some matzo and wine or whatever the case and just talk about what happened.
Sure. Or maybe they kicked the ball around for a little while and just laughed. Mace with his playing a sack race with a plastic bag yesterday.
Yeah. Peter telling fish stories.
Yes, and the fish got
It was
bigger.
this big.
It was this big.
Yep. So, be at peace as you make your decisions, enjoy yourself, and when it comes to serious decisions, be careful. Because there is always somebody watching, taking care of you, making sure that you're on the right path.
Yet also realize that you have free will. That there's no Autobot thing going on here. You make a choice, you have to take responsibility for it. Even if you didn't have the foresight to think ahead and see that how this choice could affect, Miss, you really need to listen to this. Okay, life doesn't work that way. The principle of sowing and reaping doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody leaves the house, somebody leaves the bar, had way too much to drink, knew they shouldn't drive, didn't care, just wanted to get home. Somebody else picked up their kids from the movie theater, was driving home. The two get into a wreck. Neither one of them intended that to happen. The guy, if he had thought about it, would not have taken the risk to drive or would have drank less if he thought he was going to kill somebody and her kids. But he had reason to think that because it's everywhere. There's no excuse ever for drinking too much. It's everywhere, that tells you this can happen. See accidents all the time. But he didn't sit at the bar and intend to kill someone that night. He didn't. She, when she went to pick up her kids, didn't intend to get hit by a car and have it, destroy their lives. Nobody intends that kind of stuff to happen, but it
But
does.
it happens.
Because somebody made a decision and it impacts.
Yeah.
A 1 second decision, whatever you intend or not, is enough to change your life forever. And I've heard people say, I've heard all kinds of stuff, but a 1 second decision, like it or not, you have to take ownership of your decisions. Sowing and reaping is real. It's not a matter of, my parents over adjusted, over disciplined. Sowing and reaping matters. It matters. And once you get past the safety zone of the parents, it's in front of a judge or a police officer or a funeral director or a surgeon. Not every decision you make is going to be that life altering, but the truth is, unless you stop and think about everything you do, everything you see, everything you say, every friend you have, you're not going to know when it is and when it isn't a life altering decision.
Yeah.
So that's why we're trying to teach the principles so that you can look to the principles as a guidance as to the general direction you should go in that falls in line with the principles. So you need to each find the principles that you're going to live your life by and live your life by it. We both drew the line in the sand and made our decision. Jesus Christ, the King of Kings, the Father, the Holy Spirit, Jesus the Word, Jesus the man, is our decision. We made the decision, we put the line in the sand. That's where we've chosen to go.
That's the way the momentum in this family flows.
Yeah.
And engaging in stuff that's antithetical to that, well, you're gonna be pushing up a creek against a prevailing current. Because whether or not you like it, we are the river and y'all are the stones. Or you're in a canoe, as the case may be, and you can choose to either go in the direction or against the direction. I'm looking forward to the day when the 5 of us can jump into the Ishtuckney River and I instruct the 3 of you to swim against the current, and you tell me how easy it is. 5 knot current.
It's a good current. No wonder it makes a good tubing river.
Yep.
Where's that? Chitutney.
Ishtuckney's in Florida. Little piece of home. So,
Excited to go water rafting.
love you guys. Be at peace. And I'll talk to you later.